Thank you for tuning in to David's Life and Observation with your host, David Welch. It has been. Sorry, my cat's playing outside. She's a loon. Anyways, it's been a little while since I made one of these. Purely because I know that if I don't back off on topics like police brutality and things of that nature, that I can get pretty damn wound up. And it doesn't make sense to get wound up over most things you cannot control. Some things you can control, some things you can affect, right? So the only way we're going to make solid change in this country is going after the pocketbooks of people who affect change. So let's talk about that for a second. A lot of people are browbeating the cops. I get it. They're the ones fucking up. I really get you. I do. But how about the municipalities and the cities that are contracting these killers, right? So we still have cases out there where, cops are shooting people in the back 7 times for going into their vehicle. Now, is it said that there was a weapon on the floorboard or something? I don't know. It's probably hogwash. Cops probably do anything they can to cover shit up. They don't wear body cams most of the time. It's usually a bystander, and thank goodness for bystanders willing to stop and film. Without that, I mean, how many people still have died in vain or have sold their lives mercilessly to the prison industrial complex without being recognized for the wrongdoing that happened to them. Without those people out there armed with cameras, that's why I encourage you and anyone, if you see a law enforcement interaction going on, please film. Like it's not just doing you a service; it's doing everybody a service. In fact, it holds law enforcement officers accountable some of the time. That's better than none of the time, right? So if we have film to take a situation and extrapolate what's going on and, you know, catch law enforcement in their lies, especially when they put on reports something counter to what the film shows, then they can actually be hit with charges like perjury and, be not trusted as credible witnesses. And that's like I said, that's only a microcosm of the problem. The real crux of everything is that people are not attacking these guys' paychecks through the contract with the city, right? So all these law enforcers are contractual people with the city, right? So they're given special powers by the state, the police, the post certification, the policing powers, which is something the state can and will do. They will grant policing powers to people to enforce laws. It's just the way it is. Can we have a society where cops are in a much different place mentally? Can we put it in a situation where they have degrees and they have to think before they act, and their job is absolutely on the line when they murder people, and they don't get to go home for 90 days. They actually spend time incarcerated like anyone else would committing murder. I don't believe that they should be able to go home at the end of the day. I don't believe their buddy should be investigating crimes that they've committed. And I absolutely believe in an entirely separate apparatus of law enforcement, or part of the law enforcement apparatus that does independent investigations. Now, even at that point, I wouldn't hire former law enforcement, because what happens is there is still a community or fraternal order of police that exist outside of what's going on currently in police stations. So they do have situations where an independent review board, or there are entities and apparatuses out there full of people who are separate from the situation, right? They take the evidence and they see it for what it is. Now, can they be bought by these fraternal order of police unions, and can they be bought by police? Yeah, absolutely. And then the checks and balances, they can't stop. There needs to be accountability. There needs to be someone doing their books all the time, or at least keeping account. Because if you got people who are part of this independent review board, and under the table they're getting money to swing things the law enforcement way, that's a problem. You have that with judges. You have it with judges all the time. In fact, there was a judge a couple of years ago who literally got caught in a you know, uh, scam to put kids in juvenile facilities. And he was brutally thrown to the wolves by his peers, all of which are probably committing crimes themselves. That's why they went so hardcore on this guy. They're like, "Oh man, we gotta clean up our act. We gotta let this guy be an example." Corruption is going to happen. We have corruption on a multitude of scales within the justice system. Don't even get me started on family court. Family court is by far the most corrupt apparatus of justice in the country. Kids are being stolen left and right. Kids are going missing left and right. And you have pedophile rings by the elite that are not going reported, at least not being investigated publicly. And you have A-list actors fleeing to Greece and all sorts of places because they know they fucked up. It's just a miracle of modern science that people and this is what's happening. This is what's happening. There is a very solid PR campaign for the Back the Blue movement. It's pretty solid. A lot of people are doing two things. One, they're compartmentalizing. They're recognizing, damn, like we do need police in certain situations. Do we need them in all situations? No, absolutely not. In fact, cities would actually create more jobs by hiring mental health professionals to be on scene with these law enforcers. In fact, make them be post certified. Let them be law enforcement officers, but they have the medical background or the clinical background to make decisions on the fly. Not just training, not just like a mental health deputy or anything like that. I'm talking like somebody who's a professional counselor who did the practicum hours, everything like that. I'm talking like real counselors, people who can really recognize mental health, right? And then, also don't put these people in a situation where, and law enforcement has a very critical teaching on this. It's ask, tell, make, right? So that's their kind of continuum of orders. It's first is a request, the second one is a command, and then the third is I'm going hands on. And there's a problem with that. I think law enforcers go hands on way too early in a situation where it puts them, their colleagues, and everybody else in that situation in danger by doing so. Now, are there things prevented from quick action? For sure. But it's making a decision that makes sense. If you're having beef, like there's a video out there circulating where a man is arguing with a law enforcer on his property. Law enforcement is in his face. The man says, "Hey, you need to get out of my face. You're not going to tell me what to do on my property." I get that mentality, right? As soon as the law enforcement went hands on and grabbed the guy's neck and tried throwing him to the ground and then got out wrestled in that situation, only for him to call back up and then go to reach for his firearm because the guy was not complying, and then complying with what? Like I never understood the context of that video. Like, what order was given to that guy? How is he being disorderly on his property when you attack him? How is he resisting arrest when there's nothing to arrest for, right? Just having a verbal altercation with someone doesn't make it an arrestable offense, nor does it make it disorderly, right? You as a law enforcer cannot be the complainant. Where's the complainant in that situation, right? There isn't. That's why it's critical to know laws as a civilian, right? You can tell your lawyer, "Hey, this is exactly what happened. These are the laws that I feel that were violated by the law enforcement officer. These are the rights I feel were were violated. So your lawyer has a better actionable defense for you. A lot of the times with defense attorneys, they're not given discovery of anything before you go see the judge. It's insane that that happens, that they're not given a thing, right? Prosecutors hold all the cards. They have all the information. And what happens the first time you ever see a judge is they ask you whether you're going to accept the plea of guilty or not, right? Not even, they won't even let you question jurisdiction anymore. They won't let you. In fact, you have judges practicing from the bench all the time who say, "Well, if you're not going to enter a plea on your own, we're going to enter it for you." So there's two situations that are going on there. One, you have to challenge the judge in court and say, "When did I give you power of attorney to make any decision for me?" You didn't. Okay? Judges can't enter a plea on your behalf. Cannot. And they do it all the time. They do it because they think you're ignorant of the law, which most times people are. So if they're entering a plea on your behalf, all you have to do is say, "Hey, let the record show that the judge has, without power of attorney, entered a plea on my behalf without providing me all the evidence against me." At that hearing, they have to provide substantial information to the judge for them to put you in a situation to where you decide whether you're going to accept a guilty plea or defend yourself in court. If they cannot do so, if they cannot provide any evidence, if they're not going to provide anything, challenge them. If they're going to say, "Oh, well, you were speeding." No, I disagree. I wasn't speeding. Or, "Hey, I did not commit that crime. I was not lawyering. I wasn't doing what you claimed I was doing. I'm challenging that." You don't have to enter a guilty plea. In fact, defense attorneys, if a defense attorney, before he hears your case fully, says, "Hey, let's go ahead and enter a guilty plea," fire his ass immediately and get another court-appointed lawyer. Well, the cool thing about court-appointed lawyers is, one, I would say most municipalities, most judges, most situations will afford you a couple of change outs, right? I think they afford you, 2 or 3 before you have to get your own attorney. And there's nothing wrong with that first hearing saying, "Hey, I'm requesting counsel, but this counsel is not adequate. I need an actual defense attorney that's going to defend me." And you can say, "Hey, I'm going to enter a plea of not guilty," or keep on jurisdiction. Say, "I want there to be established jurisdiction for this encounter that I had with this particular law enforcement officer." Because, obviously, if that law enforcement officer is a highway patrol, right? Not a state trooper, highway patrol, and you get pulled over on a city street, he doesn't have jurisdiction. Now, can he pull you over and have another officer come there and then him be a witness? Absolutely, he can. For people who think that you can't, he can. Also, if a law enforcement officer, regardless if you're a passenger or if you're the driver, they request you out of the vehicle, get the fuck out of the vehicle. Don't say, "Oh, I'm not getting out of the vehicle." You're then turning into something else. Now, could you say, "Hey, I'm afraid to get out of the vehicle"? Absolutely. But you still have to get out of the vehicle, okay? Take any recording device you can with you, or have someone record the incident and make sure that you possibly get everything you can on camera, okay? Dash cams are extremely important in this day and age. I wish we were like Russia. I wish they were mandated. I wish they had to be on your vehicle. That is something we're probably going to work towards for just the safety of everyone and have an actual record. But imagine the magnitude of cases that would go to court just for angry drivers, just for road rage. It would be immense because we have crazy people that drive. Anyways, I digress. Going back to my original point, we need to attack their money. The only way things will change is if we attack and affect their money. How do we do that? Well, one, we request the contract between the city and the police department. We request the budget. We request the budget details to know where they're spending your money, to know why they're spending your money, to know exactly how they're spending your money. Okay? Also, we as the people of that city can demand alterations. And if they don't want to make that decision, if those city council members don't want to make those changes, they can be replaced. And we don't have to wait till an election cycle to replace them. That's the biggest misconception of all, is people think we have to wait until an election cycle to replace you. It's called impeachment. If you get enough people in that city to impeach members and that city council immediately, then you can absolutely affect quicker change. That needs to happen. You have people that are sitting in government, city, local, and state positions for long, long periods, especially like Congress or congressmen or stateswomen of any kind. I mean, some people are there 30 plus years and they don't have the same frame of references as you and I. They don't have the same background anymore. They're not part of the people. They're part of this elite class, because what happens is they go to DC and they get bought by all these companies, and they have to have a certain message all the time because these companies are paying them to have that message. In order to affect real change, we need to on a state level get rid of Congress people that are not doing what they're supposed to be doing, that are voting for things that are against the people. Okay? Again, impeach them. You don't have to wait for the election cycle. You can impeach them out of office in your district and your area, and you can get rid of the mayor. All of that is doable within quicker time frames than, oh well, we're just going to vote them out. You don't have to wait. That's the thing. You don't have to wait. People, if you are organized enough, if you have proposals that keep beating down their door and they keep ignoring you, impeach them. Articles of impeachment work for local municipalities. They work for mayors. They work for governors. They work for congressmen. All of that. Absolutely. You can get rid of them. There's a process so that you don't have to wait. That process is, hey, you're not doing what the people have asked you to do. You're embezzling money at this point, or we're being extorted for what you want, not what the people want. If you have a congressman, for example, who votes, so let's say it's overwhelmingly, I'll just use my state, Arizonans want change for marijuana uses. We want to make recreational marijuana, a thing on a federal level. If your congressman votes no, and 98% of Arizonans say yes, we have a problem. Because right then they're going for party politics and not for you. So in that situation, we point out their flaw. We say, hey, this is what you did. And then we say really quickly, no, we're getting rid of you. You're gone. You no longer hold your position. You stop getting a paycheck. Fuck your money, right? Fuck your family. That's the thing is we, the people, hold the cards. We have the power to get rid of these people. Even if it takes 90 days, that's 90 days as opposed to living with a corrupt government entity for longer periods of time. So let's go back to the police, right? So we oftentimes don't get a choice on who the police chief is. We do get a choice on the sheriff. We do get a choice on some judges. Now, if they're not judges and they're mainly, what do they call them? If they're not full-on judges, but they're somebody who acts in that kind of capacity, but they're not an elected official, I don't know where they get the jurisdiction to do that. I don't know where they get the authority to hold court proceeding. I think they're called magistrates. But if they're not full judges, if they're not duly appointed or duly elected judges, then where do they get the authority to make any sort of determination on a case? Civil or criminal? I don't understand that. I don't. I'll have to go back and look at, kind of see where their magic happens on that. But when it comes to simple things like bail, right? If you're a person who lives in Arizona and you're living paycheck to paycheck, and they give you a bail that's, even if it's like $10,000, $5,000, I don't care if it's somewhere in the thousands, that's excessive bail. They need to be called out for excessive bail. They need to be called out for the criminal actions that they do. It's a business. Going back to what happened to me in Texas, it is a business. It is a literally Fort Hood to court pipeline. And you get these poor young families, these specialists, these E3s, E4s, E5s, who have no criminal history, who have no anything. You know, CPS gets called on them by a superior or a random Karen, you know, who's a military spouse, and their lives are ruined forever. Forever. Even a couple of weeks away from your child can have devastating effects on their psyche and yours. And it's literally, hey, you can get your kids back today, but you have to pay me $10,000. They literally will tell you that. They will literally tell you that to your face. If you give me, if I extort you for $10,000, I'm going to use the legal system to get your kids back. Making my point, right? So I'm going to leave it as it is right now. We still have no justice for Breonna Taylor. We still have no justice for the thousands upon thousands of people who've had no knock raids this year, who it was either a wrong location, it resulted in no finding of anything, the person wasn't there, the person hasn't been there for years, the person was already in custody. For all of that that's happening, those law enforcers that are doing that should immediately be fired and put in prison. For the Breonna case, there are killers on the streets right now that should absolutely be behind bars and on death row. For the law enforcement officer that shot the guy in the back, should absolutely be on death row right now. I'm sorry, but you know, like, you could have done things. You could have tried wrestling the dude. You had multiple police officers there. Holding a gun at someone doesn't stop them. Detain them. Wrestle them to the ground. You have more than one officer there. Give it a go. Okay? You're paid to do that, not paid to hold on to the guy's shirt, shoot him in front of his kids, cripple him for life. It's not what you're paid to do. And then so a lot of people are tripping on the 17-year-old that went with the AR-15. A couple things wrong with that. First, he's a minor in possession of a weapon. He is a person who aspires to be a law enforcement officer. He put himself in situations that, you know, were absolutely dangerous. But here's the problem with that. I've watched the videos. I've seen every fucking angle of this kid, and he absolutely defended himself. So when you have an asshole coming up to you with a skateboard, shooting him, I don't know. But if he's continuously attacking you, he's not relenting, you have to defend yourself. You're not going to just sit there and accept being knocked out with a skateboard. I don't care if it's a skateboard. I don't care if it's a knife. And then you have a guy with a pistol. This is where a lot of people are fucking crying. A guy with a handgun coming at you, and he shoots damn near his arm off. I don't have any sympathy. None. That kid was absolutely defending himself. Hate me, call me whatever you want. I'm sorry, but you put a kid in a situation where he had to defend himself, and he fucking did. Was he an asshole kid? Was he a kid who shouldn't have had a firearm out there in the first place? Does he deserve to have charges? Abso-fucking-lutely. But when you try and murder a kid for having a belief system, there you fucked up. We don't have to accept bullying from Antifa. We don't have to accept rocks being thrown at us. We don't have to accept being hit with skateboards. We don't have to accept Molotov cocktails being thrown at us. We don't have to accept being shot at by pistols, because that was going to occur. The guy was walking up with a pistol. He was trying to be incognito, and he was going to shoot the kid in the head. That's exactly what was going to happen. The kid saw that, shot the dude in the arm, and the dude ran away like a bitch, as he should. You don't go up to a kid with a fucking pistol and then expect him not to react. Fuck you for that. Fucking terrorist. You don't fucking threaten people with weapons. The kid was defending himself in that situation. For you naysayers out there, the kid was like, he came there to start shit. Well, so did you, bitch. Everybody went there to start shit. Everybody went there to have, you know, their voice heard. You just don't like it when people, you know, carry. You don't like when people have the Second Amendment. I'm sorry, but that's what the Second Amendment's for. It's not just for defending against the government. It's defending against your fellow fucking man who wants to tear you apart for having a different belief system. I'm sorry, but yeah, the kid was in the wrong. But so was everybody attacking him was in the wrong too. You guys aren't heroes. You guys aren't, you know, cool. You guys aren't with the fucking movement at all. You are entities under your own power doing dumb shit. Anyways, I digress. That's all for David's life and observation today. Let's bring Breonna Taylor's murderers, because that's what they are, to justice. Let's sever contracts. Let's impeach people. The only way you're going to affect change, hit them in the pocketbook. Also, start suing the shit out of private prisons that are not taking care of inmates. Inmates have medical problems. Prisons aren't reacting. They aren't hiring personnel equipped. They're not taking medical complaints seriously. The prison is liable. Absolutely.